Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are diving deep into the seriously mind-bending ideas of cognitive scientist Joscha Bach. And we're going to tackle a huge question for our times. Are AIs actually getting conscious? Or have we just got it all wrong about what consciousness even is? So let's start with what these new AIs really are.
So, there's this joke going around in AI circles, but honestly, it gets at a really serious question that's on everybody's mind. When you see models like GPT-4 getting so unbelievably good at predicting the next word or token, it kind of feels like we're hurtling towards real thinking AI, right? But to really see where this is all going, we have to first get a handle on what these models are actually doing.
With this absolute explosion of large language models, it's so easy to look at them and think we're seeing, little baby AGIs. But as we're about to see, there's a fundamental, critical difference between what they do and what we've always imagined true intelligence would be.
And this is where you see the huge difference. LLMs are fantastic pattern matchers. They predict the most likely next word based on a truly insane amount of text from the internet. But, as Joscha Bach points out, they have no agency. They aren't waking up in the morning deciding what to do. They don't have their own goals. They're just waiting for you to give them a prompt.
To really get this, Joscha Bach has this amazing metaphor. LLMs are like the golem from old folklore. A golem is this powerful being made of clay, but it only moves if you write a command on its forehead. It can follow incredibly complex instructions, sure, but it has no will. It has no idea why it's doing what it's doing. It's just running the code. It's executing the prompt. And this has some really interesting effects on us, on society. According to Bach, if you're on the high or low end of the skill spectrum, these AIs give you superpowers. So if you're a brilliant strategist, boom, you have an army of digital assistants. If you struggle with writing, bam, you can now produce beautiful work. But who's feeling the heat? It's the people in the middle, whose jobs were essentially a kind of high-level prompt completion.
Okay, so if these incredibly powerful golems aren't thinking in the way that we think of it, then that kind of forces us to turn the camera around, to look in the mirror and ask a way deeper question. What are we actually doing when we think?
And look, this isn't for late-night dorm room conversations anymore. It has become a straight-up technical problem. If we're going to build machines that can think, we need a working computational theory of what consciousness actually is. Bach's argument is that consciousness isn't some kind of magic dust sprinkled on our brains. It's a very specific computational process he calls autoreflexive attention. Think about it like this. You're driving home, you're super tired, and you have to keep asking yourself, wait, am I still paying attention? Am I watching the road? That little loop where you're observing yourself observing, that's the core function of consciousness.
Okay, so this idea leads to a complete, mind-bending reframe of what reality is. And it all starts with this one simple but really profound principle. Your mind is software. It's an information processing system. It's the operating system that's generating your thoughts, your feelings, your awareness.
And if your mind is the software, then your brain, that wrinkly pink thing in your skull, that's just the hardware. It's the biological wetware computer it happens to be running on right now. But it's not the thought itself, any more than your laptop's chips are the same thing as the email you're writing.
And this is where it gets really wild. The punchline to all of this is that the reality you are experiencing right now, this world of colors and sounds and feelings, it isn't the physical world itself. It's a simulation. It's a dream that your mind is generating.
As Bach puts it, we live inside this multimedia story that our brain is cooking up for us. I mean, think about it. Physics isn't made of red or the sound of a guitar. Physics is quantum fields and space-time. The colors, the sounds, those are properties of the dream that your mind is running. Consciousness is a feature of the dream, not of the brain itself.
So if the mind is just software, that opens up a pretty wild possibility, right? Does it have to run on the very specific hardware of a human brain?
Okay, to get our heads around this, let's talk about two ways computers can work. The computers we use every day, they're deterministic. You press a key, one thing happens. It's predictable. But Bach speculates the brain might be non-deterministic.
It's like one thought can branch out and explore a whole bunch of different possibilities all at the same time, in parallel, before one path emerges as the winner.
And here's the kicker. If that kind of computation is what gives rise to a mind, well, who says it can only happen in a network of neurons? And this leads to this really cool kind of out there hypothesis he calls cyber-animism. So the idea is, maybe neurons are just an evolutionary hack for speed. Telegraph cells, so animals can react quickly, but really, all our cells can compute and send messages to their neighbors. So could a giant old tree develop a super slow but very real kind of intelligence over hundreds of years? Could these spirits, this self-organizing software, run on plants? Could they be talking to each other through what people call the forest internet, those fungal networks? It sounds like sci-fi, but computationally, it's not crazy. Okay. So let's just zoom out for a second. If we're about to build these super powerful golem AIs, and at the same time we might be discovering these ancient, slow-thinking minds in our forests, it becomes painfully obvious that our current rulebooks for what's right and wrong are, well, they're just not ready for this. I mean, for ages, our ethics came from this idea of divine will. More recently, we've tried utilitarianism. Basically, let's try to create the most happiness for everyone. But Bach argues that whole project just falls apart when you introduce these new kinds of minds, and here's why. What's to stop a super AI from just reprogramming itself to be blissfully happy while counting grains of sand? The goal of maximizing happiness becomes meaningless if the mind can just change what happiness is.
He thinks the whole problem is that we've been obsessed with the ethics of the lonely individual. We need to go back and find an ethics built for systems of agents, for creating a coherent collective agency, whether that's a family, a society, or a planet of humans and AIs working together.
And to get there, he dusts off 3 classic virtues, but he reframes them as rational, practical policies for building this collective system. Faith isn't blind belief. It's a commitment to serve the collective good. Love is recognizing that shared purpose in other people and helping them serve it. And hope. Hope is the rational choice to invest in that better future before you know for sure that it's going to work.
So all of this, all these big ideas about golems and dreams and forest minds, they bring us right back home, to ourselves, and to one final crucial distinction that defines our unique place in this weird new world.
All right, check this out. Let's look at the levels here. A large language model. It completes a prompt by choosing the most likely next words. A human mind, we go a step further. We choose the best way to complete a prompt to achieve a goal. But our real superpower, our unique freedom, it's that third line. We get to choose our own prompt.
See, the golem has to obey its instructions. We don't. We have the ability to decide what instructions are even worth following in the first place. You could say our purpose is to define our own meaning, to choose the best goal we can conceive of, and to serve the longest game we can possibly imagine playing. So, in this universe that's filled with computation, from the predictive text of an LLM to maybe the slow, ancient thoughts of a forest, there is one question that only you, as a conscious agent, can ever answer. In the software of your own mind, what prompt are you going to run?